Kathy, can you call the roll?
Absolutely. Commissioner Bernstein?
Here. Would you call the roll?
Commissioner Grossberg?
Here.
Commissioner Flores-Weisskopf? Here. Vice President Ruttenberg?
Here.
President Kaplan?
Here as well. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda? I got one.
Oh.
An update on Rosewood.
Okay. Would you like to do that in unfinished business, or would you like to do that right now?
Right now, additions to the agenda.
Okay.
Sorry, additions to the agenda.
So last week, we provided to the board an update on the conditions of Rosewood Beach due to the extreme high lake levels. And we showed some pictures, and obviously there's been quite a bit of erosion, and there's been some concern with how much erosion and to the degree it has approached the boardwalk on all three of the coves. So since that time, we've been engaged with a variety of coastal engineers and consultants to look at some different options. And Jeff Smith, I think if you wouldn't mind, give us a brief update. We've been working with Smith Group, who we're all familiar with on a variety of different projects. And Jeff will just give a brief update as to what Smith Group has provided for us.
Should he state his address and title?
His new title.
His new title.
Congratulations.
That was in my director's report, but Jeff is now been promoted to the director of planning and projects. So congratulations.
Should we not forget
to Jeff.
Mitch while he's here?
Since we're on the topic, Mitch Carr has also been promoted to director of recreation and facilities. And so very excited about their new roles and their new responsibilities. So with that, Jeff has a very...
Mr. Director?
Yes, a very...
I'm back with an update on Rosewood. So you recall, last meeting we talked about it. I showed some pictures. We have since, one with what Brian said, we've talked to a number of firms, but we've decided we're recommending that we go with Smith Group to assist us in developing some erosion control concepts. We're looking at both short-term and long-term. And the short-term, the plan for the short-term would be to do something this fall. And then the long-term potentially could be this winter. We would have to see what the concepts are. But the goal of Smith Group would be to come to the board at the next meeting, which is the August 15th workshop meeting, and be able to present some concepts to the board at that time.
Okay, do we need to take any action on this tonight?
No action is needed. Staff is going to move forward with an agreement with Smith Group to provide the necessary information and do the necessary research to give us these three options at the August workshop meeting. So this is more of just an informational update and to see if the board has any questions regarding us working with Smith Group and what they're going to be providing for us.
I have two questions.
Okay.
Question number one, is this the same group that we're working with at Park Avenue, the group out of Madison?
Yes.
The same people we've been dealing with?
Yeah. The main, I'll say, the reason we felt they were the best fit to go with here is they were also the firm that was brought on many years ago. There was a requirement for a monitoring study at Rosewood, so they have a significant amount of data, are very familiar with the site.
Okay, and the second question, do we need to do an RFP for these, or is this just an emergency repair, or do we have to send this out? How's this work?
Yeah, it's an emergency at this point, and we did meet with a variety of firms, but they're also engineering consulting firms, so I don't know if you wanted to...
Per our purchasing policy, because we have an existing relationship with them, a satisfactory relationship, we can go back to them.
Okay.
Right. We will need approval once we decide what to do.
Yes, we're going to move forward. And at this point, we're just going into an agreement with them for the preliminary work. We're not moving forward with any agreement for construction documents or anything else. That will come to the board once we determine what the fix is for this.
And would they have to work in cooperation with the Army Corps, or do we have all that information?
Part of what they'll be doing now is reaching out to agencies like the Army Corps to talk about the permitting requirements. And there are certain steps for emergency permitting, which is what we'll most likely be going for work this fall. And they'll be researching that.
Anyone else?
Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Okay, any other additions to the agenda? Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on items on the agenda? Yes.
Chad Burton.
If you wouldn't mind, yeah. so
It's
that's the
signed,
mic.
yeah, signed.
We got
On
Chad.
the What topic are you
And I
here
didn't
to
see the sign-in sheet when I arrived.
That's all right. Chad, can we have your address?
Sir, what, I didn't hear you. Chad,
Chad, yes.
what item are you here to comment on?
Park Avenue. It's on the agenda as it's after Rosewood Beach / Park Avenue.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
So, here with the Soldiers Club from the Yacht Club, and wanted to comment on, we have a very interesting landlord-tenant relationship. The tenants have been there decades, and know the property extremely well, and we would like to establish some way to work with the Park District so that when improvements are suggested or talked about, that we have some say in what possible solutions are implemented. We've seen several occasions, I don't want to go into specifics, where the improvements weren't to our satisfaction. Not to make us happy, but to be durable and long-lived. We think we have some suggestions that we would like to work with staff and work together in cooperative nature. And then once we, if I can have comments after you go into the Park Avenue details, when you get to whatever your staff's going to comment, I'd like to also add to that.
Okay.
So, for your consideration to work together in a cooperative manner, particularly, the easy one is the building. It needs a lot of attention. We know the barge and that remedy is going to be substantial. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Can I get a second? Can I get a second? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can I have a second? I said it to the microphone, maybe you didn't hear it.
Can you call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Grossberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weiskopf.
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg.
Aye.
President Kaplan.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, guys. Next is the treasurer's report. Elliot Becker to present.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Well, we're halfway through the year, so there are a few things that I can share. First of all, the financial statements are looking a lot better than they did last month. Principal reason for that is that our tax revenues started coming in big fashion, over $6 million. So now where we stand is we're looking at a surplus through 6 months of about $4 million, whereas last year at this time we were actually in a deficit position of about that much. So a complete flip. But that too is kind of it's not as clear as that we're doing that much better. The biggest, most significant difference is that we're not spending near as much money on capital that we had budgeted in the prior year. A couple things that I would like to point out. We are on pace to save or to reduce our pension costs by about a $250,000 this year. We've saved $127,000 year to date, year over year. Rec fund, kind of a difficult situation because so much of it is seasonal. But if you look at the numbers closely, you'll find that we're a little bit down in programs, but that's offset by the fact that we're doing better in camps by about the same amount. At our facilities, we got off to rough starts, as you'll hear shortly, at Hidden Creek. Some challenges also with the weather at the golf course. July looks much better, and the belief is that we can start catching up on a lot of those numbers. Tomorrow at the Finance Committee meeting, we will be. This is kind of a 30,000-foot view. Tomorrow at the Finance Committee meeting, we're going to be going over the individual centers and any questions that members of the committee might have, and we encourage everybody to come, and there will be a report on the answers to those questions after that meeting's complete. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just about the pension, it's great news, right? So what do we owe that to?
Several years ago, the district had a substantial pension liability and it refunded it. And over the course of time, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. It was estimated at the time that it would save the district over time about $16 million in real dollars.
And how did that idea come up?
It was discussed between our financial advisor, Bob Lewis, and staff.
Okay. Modest. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
No.
Okay. That leads to new business.
We'll see you tomorrow.
It was the same
No,
question.
I'm still here.
Approval of ordinance 19-06, the surplus ordinance. Elliot Becker to present.
Thank you. I know in the past this has been on consent because it's there's not a lot on here, but we'd like to just get back into the habit of putting these on the primary agenda because we do ask the board to vote on it individually. So there's all of a shredder on here and nothing else. But it's just a matter of establishing the practice again and to make sure we do this a couple times a year to clear out what we have.
That's what we've done.
And the reason we have to have it passed by ordinance is state law.
Correct.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move for approval.
What?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Kathy, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein? Commissioner Grossberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf?
Aye.
Vice President
Aye.
Ruttenberg? President
Aye.
Kaplan?
Motion carries.
Cal was really quick with that one, did you notice?
I like that.
Yeah.
Parks Foundation update. Liz
Thank
to
you.
present.
I am.
Terry can present. Terry can present. Sorry.
Terry Grossberg.
I'm looking at the notes on my phone. The Parks Foundation Board requested that the Park District identify and provide a list of public-facing events such as community advisory committee meetings, coaches meetings, and Park District events that Foundation board members can attend and recruit new members. So, whereas the Foundation is healthy and our projects are coming into view, we're allowing a small number of people to handle those and working to the public to look for particular investigations and marketing or statistics or fundraising. But honestly, if you have a skill that you think is helpful to the community, we can really use your help. So if you know somebody or if you yourself are interested in being a foundation member, please let me know. We can really use your expertise. Some exciting things. Well, first of all, fundraising grant update. We did a grant away from the HP, and we've resubmitted to the Community Foundation, which seems to be the power center for the foundations in this town, and it is. So we've requested a $10,000 grant, and we're here in mid-August to see if we've made the next round. The Maestro Center will distribute information package on full swim lessons available through the FYI grant at the end of their camp sessions. So just to remind you what that is a separate foundational program that we've set up to help all children with swim programs, but particularly targeting Highland kids. So we're working in conjunction with the Maestro Center to schedule that because a lot of them are in camp and at the same time, and so we want to make sure we get as many kids as possible. Our capital campaign is started. They came to our golf kick-off night at Sunset Valley Golf Course on July 18th. 15% of the restaurant bill it was directed towards the foundation for the Youth Golf Fund. I don't have an update as to how much was raised that night. Today was the Backyard Grove Give Back Day. It's started after this morning, I believe, so let's get back to today. 10% of proceeds go to the foundation. Next week we have Yoga at Ravenna. It's July 30th, and we don't really know if it's a huge fundraiser thing, but it is a lot of fun. So if you do yoga, and you want to purchase a ticket for Ravenna, and then let's set aside an area that for you to do yoga before the concert begins. So it was really great last year. We're trying to put a folk fest at the Toadstool in Highland. And we're perhaps partnering with the Ravenna Town and some other entities to see if we can be a strategic part of the happenings at Folk Fest, which I have never gone to, but I hear it's funky.
I've never seen that either.
And
I'll look it up.
but it sounds great. So thank you, and that's your Park Foundation update.
Thank you. Director's report, Brian Rose.
Yeah, I'll just give a few announcements of some upcoming events right before we get into the mid-season reports from some of our seasonal facilities. But do want to mention some fun happenings coming up in the next month. Starting with this Friday, we have our third 9 and bank night of the summer at Sunset Valley Golf Club. It's been very successful this summer. It's a great opportunity to come out to Sunset Valley and enjoy 9 holes and dinner for a price of $49 per person. So there's live entertainment from Mike Jansen, who does a great job on the acoustic guitar, and it's a great evening out. Also, important to note, the Rec Center of Highland Park every year does an annual facility enhancement where the doors are closed to the public and to our members, and they do a variety of updates of cleaning the facility, doing some improvements to equipment and the facilities, making sure that the facility is in great condition for the next coming year. That'll happen during August 12th through Friday, August 16th. So it'll be closed for 5 days. And then the Aquatic Center is also going to be closed through August 25th, and that is closed because the pool is drained and cleaned, which happens annually. So that starts the 12th as well? Yes, that's correct.
Are there, is there anything significant that members will notice other than the standard, good scrub?
Yeah, I think there's some change out of some equipment. Mitch, maybe you could give a little bit more detail on the...
Probably some of the highlights this year is we are resurfacing the gym floors and the studio floors. We're doing some replacement of HVAC, so some of our ventilation, heating, and cooling units. We have 5 of those that are scheduled for replacement, so that'll happen during that week too. And the traditional stuff, the high dust cleaning that we can't get to, that is
Are we doing the roof?
obvious because patrons are using the facility, so some of that stuff gets done throughout the week.
HVAC on the roof. Is that what you're asking?
All right.
Oh. I don't know. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure about the roof.
Okay, we can get back to that.
So a couple other things happening. Obviously, we get close to August. A lot of the families are thinking of back to school, so we have a back to school splash bash on Sunday, August 11th. It's a free event with fun games, a DJ, and activities for all ages. Also in the fall, we have our very unique honey harvest at Heller Nature Center. So we are doing a honey harvest demo. That'll be on August 17th from 9 to 11:30 a.m., and that's $18 per person. And you get to experience how to harvest honey, how we harvest the honey, and you also get a bottle of Heller's own honey if you attend.
What are the times on that?
It is from 9 to 11:30. And then also with the wonderful warmer weather that we've had, there's an opportunity to enjoy a twilight paddleboard at Rosewood Interpretive Center on August 15th from 7:30 to 9 p.m., and that is $35 per person. So those are the up-and-coming happenings at the Park District.
Thank you. All right, next is Hidden Creek Aqua Park. Mitch Carr to present.
That's Director Carr.
Sorry, Director Carr.
You can tell we're really excited about it. We're very proud of our employees because we continue to be competitive, provide value, and that's all because of the work you do, and that's why we're here to support it. So
I appreciate you saying that, and thank you.
forgive us, yeah.
Let me just pull up. So I'm going to give an update today about primarily utilization at our seasonal facilities, the aquatics facilities, as well as our boating facility. So the data that you have in front of you is membership for Hidden Creek, is membership and utilization. First, just kind of starting off by talking about some operational components with our aquatic facilities. So in order for us to staff the operations, it requires us to hire 125 team members. So it's obviously a big operation to get up and running. That includes managers, supervisors, head guards, lifeguards, desk attendants, light attendants, parking attendants, maintenance team members. So it's a broad staff. And in order to onboard that staff in a very safety-sensitive area like our aquatics, there's a lot of training that goes on. So in the month of May, our aquatic staff, the leadership, did 78 hours worth of trainings to get the staff ready for Memorial Day weekend. So with Memorial Day weekend, when we're comparing it against 2018, most of us probably remember how hot that weekend was last year. Temperatures that were in the 90s, we certainly didn't see that weather quite this year for Memorial Day, and that's very reflected in our daily admissions and our total attendance for the month of May. Total memberships themselves aren't really that far of a variance. A lot of that is due to our successful early bird sale that happens in March. This year we had 714 members take advantage of that. Last year we had 586. So we had a nice increase there. I will say one thing that did impact is obviously that Memorial Day, but also June. So membership sales in over Memorial Day in June really were light. And when you look at June itself, we added a little bit of just data here to help support some of the challenges that June presented. So day sales were down 33%. Overall, attendance was down 17%, primarily due to the unseasonably cold weather. These are high temperatures in June. Many of our days in June didn't get above 65 degrees. So we had 9 days that didn't get above 65 degrees. That's kind of an important mark for Hidden Creek because that's typically the time where we'll not open the pool if it's not above 65 degrees. We certainly make educated decisions and say, if it's 64 and sunny with no wind, let's try to open to see if the public wants to come out. But if it's a cloudy day and 63 and windy, we're probably not going to open. So the impact, as you can see here, was that in June, we were open 14 of the 30 days for full operation, 16 on partial operation, and 6 of those 16 were full closures after our early bird swim. And those were due to just being too cold. One thing that I will make mention of, and certainly give our staff a lot of credit, our early bird swim, which is that 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. swim time, that is something that we try to keep open at all costs. It's a very important thing to our swimming community. We've heard that. Our lap swimmers aren't necessarily, they're a little bit hardier when it comes to the temperature. It's 60 degrees, they're fine, they want to lap swim. So we were able to stay open for lap swim all 30 days. And I think one of those days it was 53 degrees, and our guards were like bundled up, but they kept it open. So it was great that staff was able to do that. So the good thing when it comes to mid-season reports is we do get 2 months of July added in here. So I'm going to first go to just the stuff we know and what we've experienced over the last couple weeks here. A very hot and humid and sometimes excessive heat July. That certainly helps our aquatic facilities. A high temperature average of 87 degrees and many days over the 90-degree mark. Not very much rain and full operation for 15 days. How that impacts our attendance, go back up to that. It has impacted it very significantly. So you'll see in the month of July, our daily admissions are up by 1,304, and total attendance up exactly 2,000. We also, even though this data ended on the 15th, we just did a quick snapshot with last week's heat wave and got some data on that. So we had 1,659 visits from the 16th of July through the 21st, as compared to 702 last year as well. Lastly, I thought this would be interesting for the board to see as well. I don't have 2018 camper visits on here. That's something that we're certainly going to be proactive to make sure that we're monitoring. But camps obviously visit our facility during the weekday, and they're an important component to Hidden Creek. You can see our Park District camps as well as external camps and how much utilization is going on there. So over 4,000 visits, as obviously is great that our camps are utilizing Hidden Creek in this manner, as well as it helps keep our staff really sharp too. Because during the midday, it's not really heavily attended by a lot of families, but the campers are there. So one quick last plug for Hidden Creek before I move on to Rosewood is that the end of season membership has now started. That starts on July the 15th. So that's a membership that gives you 40% off. So, we know the hot days aren't done, and if there are families that are looking, for a very affordable option, instead of buying the day passes all the time, that is an option for families.
Before you move on to Rose, I have one quick question about the membership. The numbers for 2018, 2019, I assume the 2019, the membership rates, that's through July 15th, correct? That's
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
and then
Yep.
the 2018 numbers, is that the annual number, or is that through July 15th?
I believe that's the annual number.
So
I can double check on that, but I'm pretty sure we did it as an annual. in
So
comparison
you're still
to
selling,
this time.
memberships right now,
Yes.
so we could make up some of the ground that we've lost in some of these age groups, or some of these groups, right?
That's correct. yeah.
Okay.
I just have a quick hours of operation or days of operation.
Mhm.
Are you open during the week when school's still in session?
So we do go down to, at the beginning, from Memorial Day to the mid part of June, and then also when school starts in August. We still have our early morning lap swim, but then we're not open from 10 until then 4:30, and then we open back up at 4:30
Got it.
during the weekday. Weekend operation is the same as it is right now.
And that has to do a lot with our staff going back to college, correct? It's a more of a
Right.
staffing issue. I mean, kids are in school anyway, but it has to do with staffing.
Yeah, we certainly do rely on our college and high school staff, and they are back in school, so it is definitely harder to staff. Even our early bird is, certainly a challenge to staff, because we have that as well as the indoor pool that we're staffing as well.
How are things with the concessions?
So we have a new concessionaire this year. The company is Seltz. They were one of two that bid on the RFP this year. We have had some mixed reviews, I would say. I think the primary feedback that we've gotten has been with making sure that the proper inventory is available. As far as the price points and quality, I haven't had as much feedback, but I have definitely, we've talked with the concessionaire about making sure inventory levels are where they need to be.
All right, thank you.
And just a note, this summer I haven't swam as much as I'd like to, but I did early bird swim this morning. The pool was clean. I can only speak for the men's locker room, but the men's locker room was clean, so everything
That's
looked great.
Thank you. I'll move on to Rosewood. You're going to obviously see some similarities. So Rosewood, we have more just financial figures here because utilization is more measured in non-resident day pass or season, or I'm sorry, day pass or parking pass. So right now, again, very similar as far as not being the most hospitable weather at the beach. And also with that, the lake water was very cool in both May and most of June, mostly in the 50s and 60s, low 60s. But you will see that our daily pass revenue for parking is actually up. That's an annual thing, so it's monitored annually. I don't have on here our, I just have on our season parking pass. I don't have on our daily parking pass, or I'm sorry, I don't have on our daily visit data. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. It's right at the bottom there. Daily admissions are also on here, too. You can see that is actually down from last year. That's, again, primarily due to the cool Memorial Day and the month of June. I will tell you that this past weekend, we did have a very productive month with non-resident attendance. We had $740 worth of visits, which equates to 74 non-residents that visited, as well as $2,455 in parking fees. Rosewood also has the potential foreclosures due to high wave action or high bacteria levels. We've had 9 of those closures this year. That is directly administered through the National Weather Service and Lake County, making the beach hazard statements for that. So we just follow those statements. Even when we do have closures, we do keep staff down there as part of a safety measure to make sure that patrons stay out of the water. They can visit the beach, just not enter the water. Moving to Park Avenue. So Park Avenue, off-season and in-season storage really has remained on par. One area we increased storage capabilities this year was in the stand-up paddle area. So staff in the off-season worked to reconfigure the south garage so that we could accommodate more stand-up paddles. That was something that the boating community was asking for. So you can see that this reconfiguration allowed us to move from 7 to 14 stand-up paddles.
Can you scroll it down so I can see? I didn't see which column is what year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So a lot of those people that were on the waiting list certainly gobbled those spots up. Our season parking decals, the reason for the decrease there is an operational change. And that's working with the city after getting some feedback on residents not being able to access Park Avenue before 3 o'clock on weekends. So the north lot is now open to residents with a city sticker at any time with no restriction. And the south lot still has the restriction, which is the area right around the boat launch. So that did reduce the need for certain residents to purchase a season parking decal. As far as the launch totals for this year versus last year, certainly the weather has played a role in that. About a 25% decrease in total number of launches. Another just operationally challenge, as we all are aware, as Jeff's report talked about with Rosewood, is the higher lake level. So this year compared to last year, the lake is 16 inches above where it was. Operationally at Park Avenue, one of the things that we could not do this year was to bring out the floating dock portion of our dock. That shortens the dock about 40 feet. That was done out of a safety consideration with the high lake levels, and we secure that to the breakwater groin. The worry of it being maybe on a high wave day pulled over the groin or dislodged or maybe damaging the permanent dock. So we didn't deploy that. The operational change really on that was instead of 2 boats being able to be secured to the dock, you can only do 1 at a time. In addition to that, with the higher lake level waters, we've seen water coming over our dock quite often. And so we have made an operational change to have a staff monitor during the weekdays so that if we do have unsafe conditions on the dock with changing lake levels we can close the dock for an unsafe condition. So we've been doing that Monday through Friday from 10 to 4. And then we have our standard boating attendant operation on the weekends.
What happens if you close it, there's still people on the lake?
So the people can come in off the lake. We just want to try to prevent people from going out if it's not safe to try to launch.
Can we get, I'm sorry, were you done?
That was it. I mean, I can take any questions that anyone has.
The 2-year comparison, is it possible to get a 5 or 6 year comparison?
Sure.
'Cause I'd like to see how it's changed historically.
Specifically for Park Avenue, for all the facilities.
For Park Avenue.
Okay.
How many years ago did the city change the configuration?
Is that
2 or 3?
Was it 3 years ago?
4 years ago.
I was going to guess 4.
So can we go back 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
please? Thank you.
The year to go back to is probably 2012. I think 2012 was the last year before we went to the north branch of the, if I'm not mistaken. That's when the construction, I think, was in 2013.
At the
All
water
right, I'll
plant?
take 2012 to the present.
Yeah. Did you talk about the water plant construction?
Yeah. And that's when we started to have the tremendous disruption to the site.
Commissioner Rosberg? All right, thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Sunset Valley Golf Course Driving Range, Ryan and Rob to present. Sorry, Rob and Ryan to present.
Which one do you want? We'll go second. Do the range first. We can't talk at the same time.
I know how much you love being here.
I'd rather be seeing Cal's golf swing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a nice shirt, Ryan.
We like yours too, Rob.
Okay, so we're going to start with the Learning Center. So we have our attendance numbers, and we did this from April 1 through July 15th. You can see for the driving range, and this is by driving ranges by buckets sold. We have seen an increase of 572 buckets, which, okay. The miniature golf, we have seen an increase of almost 770 participants coming by. So our total increases right now is about 1,340 people. The one part for the Learning Center, and I can say it this way, we still get people out there when the weather's not so good for, for like the pools. They'll still come out for like an hour or two. So we still see some decent numbers. Our camps, now this number is with our Park District camp and our PGA camp. So those numbers are a little bit higher for this year. And that'll be how it'll basically end up. So our camp numbers will be a little bit higher.
Okay. Is mini golf, is it families? Is it Friday night kids coming?
They're coming, they start at around 10 o'clock, and they'll just come out.
And are we getting...
It's not all families. It could be, it's a wide variety. You'll have a bunch of adults come by.
When we rehabbed it, we talked about trying to, for lack of a better word, the tweeners out there. Are they coming, or is it more older and younger?
Oh, well, yes, older and younger.
Okay.
The 20-year-olds, so to speak, there aren't that many.
Well, we were thinking like the 6th, 7th, 8th graders, a destination for them.
There are some, I mean, a lot of those are coming, they'll come with parents, but that's more families then.
All right.
I think we're hoping too, once we continue to improve access from the community park, so it'll be, middle schoolers who may want to bike there versus go with their parents. There'll be a lot better access. So I think it'll continue to hopefully improve and attract.
When Liza and I went there, we talked about rehabbing it. We talked about trying to get that age group more involved.
We've been seeing a lot more
Good.
kids. I
Yeah.
mean,
You know, there's also another challenge besides the weather. It's the construction on 41 this year has been really, really bad. So just seeing these numbers is very encouraging, where it's been very difficult to access anything off of 41 this summer, as we can all attest to.
especially Saturday.
Yeah. Are the lights working?
We haven't put the lights on.
No.
We found that it was a waste of money. Usually when the lights came on, so did the bugs.
Got it.
So,
Yeah.
so I got one more.
Okay.
Since you're in charge of that. Oh, the highlights, I mean, we've done in the past, we've done our swing analysis and our tri-golf clinic. So we doing everything we can to just keep people interested in golf or bring them out. We did do a Titleist club fitting earlier this year where we had, their representative came out and they had everything, every club made for Titleist and all the shafts. I was kind of amazed at how quickly this gentleman could figure out what the person needed. And then we did at the time have a Father's Day mini golf event where we had about 40 fathers play with their kids or families. So that was a free event for the fathers, and they seemed to have fun.
Nice. That's all,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, well then, if they have this.
All right, then Sunset Valley, we'll go there. Mid-season report. So, if you can read that. So I kind of compared it, it's kind of hard to compare. This is our first full season open. So I went back to 2016, and it's really not the same. It wasn't the same course, the same pro shop, same clubhouse. But just to kind of do a comparison of that, and the golf shop sales, and this is everything here is through July 15th. We sold approximately 1,240 items in the pro shop, and that's golf balls and accessories in 2016. In 2019, we sold 1,750, and the increase is due to selling apparel, more apparel now, selling golf clubs, and just more people being out at the course. Golf rentals, cart usage is up substantially. In 2016, we did 55,228 carts. In 2019, we've done 8,272 carts. Greens fees in 2016, and this number is with memberships. We did 11,603 greens fees.
Are those rounds of golf?
That's rounds of golf, yeah. In 2019, we've done 14,150. It's actually 150, not 140. Rounds of golf.
So what are you projecting for the year now, based on these numbers?
If I could tell you what the weather's going to be,
I mean,
if it's great weather, 29,000 rounds.
What's the best we had before renovation?
Before renovation?
Back in the
Back in the 80s.
like in the 1990, I went back like between 1990 and 2000, we averaged like 45,000 rounds a year.
Okay.
I mean, that's when golf was
54,000 was that.
54,000 was the highest.
Wow.
But most recent memory before we...
2012 was the 31,000, and that was the drought year. So that never rained. So if it never rains, I mean, right now we're averaging the first 2 weeks of July when it was very dry, never rained, probably 220 rounds a day average, which is very, very good.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give you some financials, so golf shop sales in 2016 through July 15th, we did about $9,395. 2019, so far through July 15th, we've done $28,214. Golf rentals, and that's kind of carts and some clubs. We did $71,000 in 2016. In 2019, we've done $133,650. So, that tells us cart usage per round, about 45% of the people are taking carts in 2016, whereas compared to 2019, 58% are taking carts. And I think that is due to we have very, very awesome carts with electric carts and GPS. So everybody wants to take a cart. which is great for us because we get that rental revenue. Greens fees with memberships. This was kind of a hot topic button for us when we were reopening the course and trying to decide how we wanted to go about doing it, whether to have memberships or not have any memberships. And all the data shows that no memberships, you can make more money. And midway through July 15th in 2016, we did $280,000 with memberships, and the cost per round for the 11,603 players was $24.20 per person. And then greens fees so far this year between through July 15th, we've done $473,347 for $33.45 average cost per round. So we've almost went up $10 per round.
That includes Groupon?
What's that?
Does that include Groupon?
We don't use
We don't
Groupon. So that's some good data to go off of. And then, so I just added some pictures of, this is the 13th hole, the new 13th hole at Sunset. This is a new picture of number 1, green complex. That's really grown in now. Kind of looking at it back from 2T, looking at 1 in the pond. This, I just want to take everybody back and appreciate all the patience, because this is last year, April 11th, 2018. Hole 7 was the last hole seeded in 2017. And as you go through a seeding process and you're renovating a facility, like the community, it just takes time and patience, and you just have to have that. And this is July 2019 of the same hole. So.
Yeah, I was there today, and you were closed the last 2 days. And you can imagine what, the river overflowing does to a course. And I was with a couple guys that had not played the course for many, many years, and they're like, this course was flooded? It was just amazing amount of work must have been done yesterday to get it ready for today.
Well, we did do, but it also, the drainage that was put in, so we wouldn't have standing water after we do flood. Everything drains back to the canal. Once the canal recedes, everything drains accordingly back to the canal within 48 hours. And we're good, open for carts to go everywhere they wanted to go. It helped that it was a very drying day yesterday. It was 75 degrees, very windy, no humidity. So, yeah. Any questions?
Something that I would love to see at the end of the golf season is to see like a side-by-side of the holes, now that, like you said, it's all grown in and it's looking natural. It'd be nice to have a side-by-side of the holes.
Okay. Of like before and after?
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
The other, I'm sorry.
That's what I was. Sure, go ahead.
I remember we talked about at the beginning of the, when we were first opening, we were going to have the starters be real verbal about the expectations on the course, about playing from the right tee box, about what is the tee for the day, what do you call it, the 3s, 2s, and 1s, and about replacing your divots. So I know that it's on the screen.
Yes.
Not everybody uses the cards.
Correct.
It would just be, I think it would be great because it does, and it bothers Brian, I think, the most out of anybody. He replaces his jugs, a lot, because he just gets annoyed. We all do, but people treat it like it's a country club and someone else is going to do it. And I just think that maybe we should have a little more signage or a little bit more verbal reminders from our rangers, from our starters. This is what's expected at this course, because this thing looks and plays like a country club. And then people, unfortunately, treat it like that, and it's sort of weird,
I think the problem is it's a public course, and people don't. I mean, we've gone to other public courses. It's the same at all.
Yeah.
This is just our public course.
It's hard, and I'll be honest, it's hard to get people to care as much as we do.
Right.
Because at the end, they just want to come out and play and leave. But we care, and it's just a message that we got to get across and explain it.
I mean, along those lines, because, I treat it like one of my kids. So I run out. My thing runs out by the fourth or fifth hole because I'm trying to fill in as many divots. It's like so. If we can be more vigilant as a staff to make sure those are filled, because a lot of times they'll get into a cart or into a push cart, and there's a quarter filled or half filled. Because if it's full, maybe it encourage people, hey, don't come back with a full bottle, so to speak.
Yeah.
Use it on the course.
You got it.
My only two.
No idea what he's talking about.
You pour stuff in with
So
seeds.
the two comments I have is number one is that we decided as the Golf Advisory Committee and also this board to invest in the electric carts, which we had higher infrastructure and it costs more money. It appears to me, looking at these numbers, I guess this is just a short snapshot, but it appears that we're getting a good return on our investment.
Yeah.
So when you come back at the end of the year, when part of your end of the year presentation, I'd like some type of presentation and see what kind of return of investment we're getting on the fact that we spent more money marginally on the electric carts and the infrastructure, because looking at these numbers, it looks like, I mean, at the eyeball test, it looks like they're paying for itself and some. But
So just to give
Yeah.
you, I don't want to get ahead of
Yeah.
myself, but in 2016, I went back and looked. For the entire year, we did 149,000 in cart rentals. For the year, midway through this year, we're at 133,000.
So if you could give us the analysis, because I'd like to take that back to the Golf Advisory Committee, because, again, we really, as a board and as an advisory committee, we really struggled whether to spend the additional money. And because when we decided, the sustainability, what Barney was thinking, the sustainability of it, having the electric carts versus the gas carts, but it looks like it was the right decision, and it's paying in additional dividends on top of that. So if you can give it an analysis, I'd appreciate it.
You got it.
The second is that I know that when we did the budget, we projected a certain amount of rounds, and we were projecting roughly about $150,000 positive cash flow out of the course. When you do the end of the year presentation, can you go versus what we projected and what the actual numbers are?
You got it.
And there was one more, I just forgot it. But if I remember it, I'll let you know.
One thing I just want to touch on is when we did the budget in 2018 for 2019, we were under the assumption at that time that Sportsman's was going to be closed for the 2019 season. They sent out a letter, I want to say early December, that they were not going to close in 2019. We found out last week they're going to close in 2020 now. We've had several of their leagues, several of their permit tee times reach out to us already and asked to come over here. So that, those numbers will probably reflect more in 2020 budget. We've also found out on Saturday, Lakeshore Country Club is closing down for 6 months. We had a couple groups stop by on Saturday, wanted to come over to play Sunset.
Actually, Lakeshore member called me, it's coming tomorrow to check it out.
So how will we manage that as far as giving residents priority over, non-residents?
Well, when we were closed down, we did a reciprocal program
Yeah.
with Sportsman, so that's kind of our way of giving back to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so our residents got resident rates
Okay.
Yeah.
in Northbrook.
I remembered my last comment, and this is what I'm getting from the golfing public. They love the course. They love everything we've done. Their biggest question to us is, are we going to maintain it? And what are we going to do on an annual basis to add to what we've done? So when you come back at the end of the year, can you talk about that? Give us a whole section of what you're doing for maintenance and what your 5-year plan and with the course to make some, because now that we're kind of living in it, we're kind of seeing things that needs to be done, things that you'd like to do over the next 5 years to enhance the experience, and whether make sure that you're getting the resources that you need in order to maintain it at the level it is right now.
You're speaking to my ears. I got a list.
Bring it back. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex.
I'm one of your biggest fans.
Any additional board comments? Now it's open to the public to address the board on anything in or out of the agenda.
I'm David Sogan. I've been here before. I want to reflect back on comments I made before we had the Smith Group come in. I talked about how we got to the barge in the situation that we found ourselves in. I don't need to go over that, but one of the points that I brought up and suggestions was that the Park District staff and the representatives from the building community work together to help manage the Park Avenue facility better. I think in the case of District 113, after the first bonding issue failed, there was a committee that helped advise on the construction side that was extremely successful in lowering the costs and making a much more effective renovations to the two high schools. I think that within the building community you would find similar talented people that have good ideas and, more importantly, good experience with the facility over a long period of time. With the staff at the Park District, we have somewhat frequent turnover. People have different responsibilities. They change from, say, the recreation center to getting promoted to running all the facilities. And the one continuum you have are the people who actually use the facility. I hear that there's a golf advisory board committee, and why don't we have the same thing for Park Avenue, which is also a very technical, complicated site, which I think we would get more out of the facility. I think we could do better financially with it, and I think we could meet more of the needs of the community by taking that approach. And at the time I presented this several months ago, both Bonnie and Liza, who was the executive director at that time, said, gee, that's a great idea. But here we are 9 months later, and we're looking at a site that doesn't look anywhere anything like Sunset at this point. And for a community that prides itself to being a gateway to Lake Michigan, it's kind of a sorry state at this point. And I think we can do better as a community.
Thank you, David.
David touched on most of what I want to
Okay.
talk about.
Anyone else? Okay. Can I get a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Open Meetings Act? Section 2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline of the district. Section 2C5, the purchase or lease of real estate, including discussion on whether a certain parcel of property should be acquired. Section 2C21, the discussion of minutes lawfully closed under the Act, whether for the purposes of approval of said minutes or for conducting the semi-annual review of the minutes as set forth in Section 2.06 of the Act. And Section 2C11, litigation against or on or behalf of the district or where the district finds that an action is probable or imminent. So move.
Second.
You call the roll, Cat? Will you call the roll, Kathy?
Commissioner Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Grossberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Flores Weisskopf?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg? President Kaplan?
Aye. Show that we adjourned at 7 o'clock.
No, we went to closed session.
Adjourned into
To closed session, thank you.
Adjourned into close. My
Thank you.
thumb was fat.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Commodore. Mrs.
Okay.
Commodore.
We're going to have an advisory committee. Guess who's